Blazor Server SEO. I want to compare Blazor Server SEO to the recent video I made about Blazor WebAssembly SEO. I wasn't too happy about the Blazor WebAssembly SEO out of the box. You could you could manipulate the metadata tags in the title, but it didn't actually count in terms of SEO improvement, optimization. So let's see how Blazor Server does this. I made a new Blazor Server project. First off, why I didn't do this sooner is because I assumed Blazor Server would act a bit like Razor Pages, so have most of the pages, Razor Pages, that's all server-side static served HTML, so that's good for SEO. I would assume that Blazor Server did the same, but then had the capability of loading Blazor components dynamically. But I wouldn't think they'd be seen by the Google bots or the crawlers or anything that makes checks for SEO. So I made the Blazor Server project by just going add new project and find the Blazor Server, or through the terminal you could say .NET new Blazor Server. Let me just, oops. And if you open this, I have a few pages. I already removed the example content. Let's first take a look at the index. Wait, let's first take a look at the main layout. So this is very similar as Blazor WebAssembly, only these three, host, layout, and error, are extra. And we don't have an index.html in the www root. So in the main layout, you see already this Blazor component is manipulating the page title. So the standard HTML title. Yeah, you could also, if you want, you could already use the head content as well to manipulate whatever is in the HTML, between the HTML head tags. Let's then take a look at index.razor. This is in Blazor WebAssembly, this would be a component that gets dynamically loaded, so not detectable by viewing the page source or by the Google crawlers. And there you see something similar. So we're manipulating the page title and everything that's in the head tags of the HTML page. This works pretty similar as in Blazor WebAssembly. The tags you put between these tags will be appended to the head, to the original HTML head. And in this case, in Blazor Server's case, it's going to be pre-rendered. So I just mentioned it's in Blazor WebAssembly, this gets dynamically loaded into it. In Blazor Server, this gets pre-rendered. Let's take a look at that in a bit. I have some other just example content, and then I reused a component I initially built for my Blazor WebAssembly clients. Let's take a look at it. It's not a great component, but uh, I mean, I didn't think it through. I thought I would only reuse it in the Blazor WebAssembly clients, but now I'm also using it in the Blazor server, which is actually very, yeah, an advantage over Razor pages, since Razor pages and Razor pages you can simply reuse these, since it has another syntax. For example, you can't use the on-click event. Say on-click. You couldn't use this in Razor pages. That makes that makes most of your Blazor WebAssembly components not reusable. Let's take a look at in here. I didn't yet optimize it. With optimize, I mean I made this for the Blazor WebAssembly clients, and I am doing HTTP calls to my API to get meetups from the database, and then just display them in a horizontal scrollable layout. So that's interesting to note. Let's check out there's two more pages of interest. Let's check out the layout first. And here, this is basically a bit like your index.html, where your static HTML is defined. I commented out all of these. Since in Blazor WebAssembly, it was wise to have those in the index.html, like have some default ones at least. Otherwise, your previews, for example, in Facebook while sharing the links would be would just contain nothing. So not good for SEO or just sharing stuff. In Blazor Server, you don't need to do these since the tags I showed in here will be pre-rendered. Okay, the style sheets I do have to put here. And then you see this component type of head outlet. That's similar like in the Blazor WebAssembly. This head outlet component, and render mode is server pre-rendered. We'll see the fruits of that in a bit. And then you just see some other things. You don't see the app, like where you'd expect the app to be loaded. Could like div ID app. That is actually in the host.cs.html. So in here, it does something similar. Component type of app, render mode, server pre-rendered. And this, we'll take a look at it. This will make sure our dynamically loaded components, so to speak, will also be pre-rendered. Okay, what I wanted to show with this events component is this is doing HTTP calls to our API, which is actually overkill for a Blazor server project, but it's the way to do it for a Blazor WebAssembly project. So I'll see if I'll adjust that a bit for this Blazor server project. But what I wanted to show with this is it's fetching data from an API and from the database. So there's definitely some delay on this, some request response time. And yet we'll see that being pre-rendered, which is awesome. Let's see. I don't know if you noticed, you paid attention to this title in here. It changed to index, since this is our index component or page, our Blazor page. And we see the hello world, the example content, and we see this nice horizontal scrollable layout of meetups. This is exactly the same component as I used in the Blazor client project. Let's take a look at that. Here at the bottom, you see the exact same component. Let's inspect the page source of this Blazor WebAssembly client project. And you see, yeah, it's in my native language, but these are the metadata tags set on the index.html, so just the general ones for the entire application, not really page specific or anything. But then again, we're on the index page, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, you see this div ID app where all the dynamic components will be loaded. So then actually all of this gets replaced by the actual like with all of these things. But you see, this is not showing the events in the source code or nothing really. So that's not really useful. What I actually wanted to show, even if I go to a detail page and we go to the page source, you're just going to see the exact same things. Nothing page specific. So SEO, yeah, it's just not there. You did, however, see the title change and the tab, but that's kind of, yeah, happening after the fact, so to speak. So it's not useful for the Google crawlers, bots, and all those things. It's not counted really as SEO stuff. Okay, now we saw all that. We prepare to be amazed by Blazor Server, pre-rendering. Let's take a look at the page source. And you'll see our metadata tags for the index page. So these with a description of test123 and index and test123. So you see index test123, and then which is another thing that's awesome. Yeah, so sorry. You see these commented out things. That's actually the head content. Sorry, this one is the end. This one is the start, and it's kind of the pre-rendered head content. So this one, component type, head outlet, that's that. And then you see something similar, so commented out starting. And then you see the HTML of the index component, so the dynamic Blazor index component. But you actually see all the events being nicely pre-rendered, which is going to be awesome for SEO. Imagine we'd be on a detail page, we would just see nicely the details of this event, for example, this meetup. So that's going to be awesome. Let's now do the Facebook test. That's how I like to test how well my websites display when you're, for example, sharing a link to it. So in Facebook, you see some kind of previews using these OG title and image and all these things. And the point is, if you share, for example, a meetup detail, that the user, yeah, the receiver, I'll say, knows that you're, yeah, somehow already sees that you're sharing some specific content and not just the entire general application.
which is the case for Blazor WebAssembly client. So let's take a look at that. Let's see, let's go to from the Blazor WebAssembly client first. Let's go to this detail page, copy the link, and paste it in my and you see, although I copied a detail page, it just shows me, yeah, it's in my native language again, but it just shows me the general index HTML static meta tags and title. So that's unfortunate. Let's now see what happens for the Blazor Server project. Of course, you can't just simply paste a local host link because that wouldn't show anything. Facebook can't really access that to get the meta tags or something. So we are going to use ngrok, which basically makes your exposes your local host to a publicly accessible link, kind of tunneling or something, or proxying. And then you get provided, sorry, let me do that again so you can follow. So ngrok is a program you can install from the website, from their website. Once installed, you can run it by specifying the protocol and then the URL you want to expose. And then it gives you some publicly accessible URLs, links. It's going to say it's unsafe, but let's go ahead. And then you see the same content on a different URL. Let's now paste this into Facebook. And you get the title index and test123, which is set on this dynamic index component. See, there's no other place where I'm setting any tags. Yeah, so that's actually a whole lot better than the Blazor WebAssembly out of the box offers. Of course, yeah, most single page application frameworks can't really provide any good SEO without pre-rendering or any server-side things. Maybe, yeah, using Cloudflare or something. I commented out these tags because I wanted to see whether or not I needed some initial tags, like default or fallback tags. But it's not really needed. In Blazor WebAssembly client, it is needed. In Blazor Server, it's not needed since it's getting pre-rendered. If you do, however, set these initial ones, that's not that much of a problem, I think, because this pre-rendering component will append to the head. So yeah, append, it kind of depends where you put this tag. If you were to put this tag in front of the other ones, then probably you're going to always see the last ones. The order matters in the head tag. It's mostly the bottom ones override the top ones. That said, I don't know exactly what the impact is of having, for example, duplicate tags. I'm not sure if Google minds or is going to punish you for that. I don't know about that. But anyway, I think that's all I wanted to show for that.
And I am pleasantly surprised by Blazor Server doing all this pre-rendering. Oops, let's stop this one. Because I really didn't expect it to pre-render the dynamic components that have some delay and all that. I really did not expect it. So yeah, what I did, because of all these Blazor WebAssembly mobile first apps that I made, like this is another one, since these have only, yeah, just very similar, these have only the general meta tags, so not really specific SEO. For example, for each dog you should have like a different view when sharing them over social media, for example, Facebook or something else. And you should have like a different meta tags, but that's not happening. So I kind of tried to compensate by building a Razor Pages app, which is fully server side. Try to compensate, like highlight my apps that I made and try to compensate for the bad SEO of the actual app by using this website. If you then see, so this is fully Razor Pages, but I'm going to transform this one into a Blazor Server one now that I'm confident about the SEO capabilities. If I just look up my brand, I only have about 122 impressions in 90 days, so that's nothing. And then you nicely see these previews, and this is made possible because of the Razor Pages website is all static content. The reason why I didn't, yeah, I already mentioned it. I wasn't sure about starting with Blazor Server right off the bat, which I should have done. Mm, but also because there's some Blazor Server tends to update its UI by using over Signal R, so real-time communication happening there, and is known to have some limits or some connectivity issues or manage or connections that you have to manage and all that. So that kind of put me off. I wasn't sure, like, is it going to be sufficient for my, yeah, is it going to be sufficient? Isn't it constantly gonna go down if I have too many page visitors or something? But as you saw, I don't have to worry about too many page visitors at the moment. And I read somewhere that someone was able to max out about 300 concurrent users on his Blazor server application website. That doesn't sound like much, but that's actually, yeah, 300 people um, having these real-time connections at the same time. That's not a something I'll reach anytime soon, I think. So I am going to use Blazor Server. Um, that said, that was someone who tried to max out the concurrent connections. So I don't know how many I'm going to be able to support out of the box. I do know, however, Azure has a service for Signal R that's going to help you with all of these connection stuff, or make sure the limit it's not that limited. So yeah, I can't wait to dive deeper into Signal R and this Azure service once I completely transformed the Razor Pages website into this one. Another good thing about this Blazor server is, yeah, I can reuse exactly the same components that I already made for my Blazor WebAssembly client project. That's gonna help a lot because in Razor Pages, since the syntax is different, I had to go about things differently. I couldn't use the on-click event handlers. I had to form post the old way and all that stuff. So that's all I'm going to say. I really like the SEO capabilities of Blazor Server. Let's hope deployment and the production, like handling enough users, let's hope all that goes well. Ciao.